What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Moguls. My name is Findlay-Shirras, and on today's show, we have the CEO of Exit Realty, Tami Bonnell, who's been at the helm for over 20 years, focusing on growth and profitability, speaking and educating. If you get to know Exit Realty, they have a really unique brokerage business model that has paid out more than $250 million in residual income, not real estate commissions, but residual income to their agents. So I'm really excited to get to know her and the Exit Realty model a little bit more so you can get to know it. So let's get started. Thank you, Tami, for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So if people check out your LinkedIn, there's not a whole lot actually on there. It just says Exit Realty for over 20 years. So why don't you give people like your story before Exit Realty and what's it been like over the last 20 years?
Well, before Exit Realty, I was instrumental in building 3 major brands. So I'll make the longest story short. I sold my first house when I was 13, and I sold on site for builders until I was old enough to get my real estate license.
Is that even legal?
It is legal if you're on site for a builder, and only in certain states, but it happened to be in mine.
That's crazy.
And from there, I focused on finance for a while, and I loved real estate, but I really liked the consultative side and the business side. So for the last 30 years, I focused on selling franchises, doing mergers and acquisitions, selling regions for Exit, and building the brand. So much more of a consultative side of the business. So,
when you say mergers and acquisitions, like there's so much stuff happening, and Compass is buying a whole bunch of stuff, and Realty used to do in the past, like what are the things that you have looked for when you decide whether to acquire another brokerage?
Well, we actually help our brokers acquire brokerages. We don't own any of the individual brokerages. So unlike those other companies, we're a privately held company, and we help our brokers to grow more and to develop their offices more and to build more so that they can build in multiples. And because of our business model, it's really beneficial for brokers. So across North America, the average office only has 5 agents or less, right? Which is crazy. And so they really care about their people, but a lot of them are getting a little bit older and they want to retire. And with our residual model, they can make residual income ongoing forever instead of just getting a small payout. And a lot of them want to stay part of it. They just want to slow down a little bit before they stop. About 95% of brokerages wouldn't be acquired by real large publicly traded companies. They only want to buy the really large companies that have dominant market share, and they're willing to write out really big checks for it. What we do is really find a good fit that the business philosophies match for the brokerage within Exit and the other side, and help them to merge together. So we find out what's really important to them. Typically for most brokers, they either want to retire, they want to slow down a little bit, they want to just list and sell real estate. The most recent ones we've had, most of them wanted to take summers off because they had second homes they never spent any time in, right? So they can list and sell real estate and make $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 with their eyes shut because they've been doing it so long, but they really want to see their agents do well. And so we've had them come over, and then they make residual income. And instead of somebody buying their company for whatever it is, 50, 100, 250,000, whatever that number is, they'll make the equivalent of 10% of the gross commission off of all of their people for as long as those people stay with the company. So it gives them incentive to help them to do better, and it gives us a goodwill ambassador long term, which definitely helps. And so literally 50% of the offices that we've sold over the last couple of years are also acquiring companies. So it helps them with really exponential growth.
Now let's go back to the founding story of Exit and how this whole model started, why it was created the way it was created. Has it changed over time?
No.
Tell me about this Exit Realty story.
So Steve Morris, the founder and chairman of the company, was very instrumental in building in Canada with RE/MAX, and he actually won an award one night and went home and was talking about the only way that you could have anything better than that would be to make more than 100%. And he had been in the stock market and the insurance industry, so he already had the ideas in his head. And he went to bed, woke up at 3:17 in the morning, he remembers it specifically, and he went out and he wrote out and started creating the Exit formula. And so it was the opportunity for people to make more money, but in a different light. So my best example for you is Sam Walton, right? Sam actually created more millionaires than anybody in the history of the world because he rewarded them for the percentage of the company they helped build. Well, we don't sell lawnmowers and coffee pots, right? We sell real estate. So the assets of a real estate company are their agents. So by simply introducing, we call it sponsoring, but every agent and every broker and every regional owner has the opportunity to introduce people into the company. It's still the broker's decision of saying yes or no to bringing them in, but when they introduce them into the company, they receive the equivalent of 10% of the gross commission, up to $10,000 a year, every year for as long as that person's with the company. But think about it. As good as that is, they can introduce anyone anywhere in the world. There's an exit office just by a simple introduction. And so they introduce 10 people in that they help to get making $100,000 a year or better, and they're at $100,000 a year before getting out of bed. 10 years from now, that's $1 million that they wouldn't have put aside anywhere else, right? But it's the opportunity for them to have paychecks between paychecks, right? Nobody sells a house a day, or there's only a handful of people that sell a house a day. And so it gives them the cash flow between paychecks. It's great for bringing in new people because it helps them to have cash flow. But for people that want to slow down before they stop, and for consummate professionals, they already have the wisdom, and now this gives them incentive to pass it on. So it creates a mentoring culture within our offices. Everyone wants to help the other people succeed, and whether it's somebody they introduce into the company or not, they all want to help each other succeed. So the information is shared. It really makes a huge difference. But as good as that 10% is, we thought about the whole picture. The average age of a realtor across North America is 54. The average age of a broker is older. And so most of them don't have any plans for retirement. You know, you list real estate, you sell real estate, so you represent a buyer or a seller. We have a running joke in the real estate industry: old brokers never die, they just get listless, right? But a lot of them have not planned towards retirement, and they don't have anything put away towards retirement. So we thought about that opportunity for retirement. So anybody doing less than 8 transactions, that's how we determine retirement. So they could work part-time if they wanted to. Anybody doing less than 8 transactions is in retirement. So they then receive 7% of the residual income. The other 3% goes to the brokerage because we want the broker to have a ballast. That helps the broker to stay solid. But the reason we deem retirement is anybody doing less than 8 transactions. Somebody can literally leave and go on maternity leave, have a baby and stay home longer than they would have been able to. They can help a parent while the parent is transitioning. They can go on a sabbatical if they're a young kid and take 3 months off and tour around the world. It doesn't matter what it is. But when they come back in, if they choose to come back in, we've had people that have done hip replacements, been with their parents while they were passing, have helped children get into school or homeschooled for a period of time. It honestly doesn't matter what they choose to do. They have choices. And when they choose, if they choose to come back in full time, all their 7s go back up to 10. So it's convertible. It's portable. I get relocated, my significant other gets relocated into Arizona, all my benefits follow me like real people with real jobs, so I have residual income that'll give me a start where I am, right? That'll help me ongoing. And I can continue to introduce people into the company even when I'm retired.
Wow.
Benefits like real people with real jobs, so it's the only enhanceable retirement. But we even took it one step further, and we thought about the family, and if I die, my beneficiary makes 5% of that income even after I'm gone. The other 5% goes to the brokerage because we want them to be profitable. But think about that. They have literally benefits like all other industries, benefits like real people with real jobs. So we can truly say that we can give them the opportunity to make more than 100% without any desk fees. There isn't something that can top that model if
right
you use
now,
the model right.
In the market. So quick questions. Did this model come out before Keller Williams?
After.
After?
Keller Williams is a multi-level marketing firm. They came out in 1983 in Texas. They revised it a little bit, a few times. But
when people, you know, when I looked at this, Keller and EXP, similarities from the residual income standpoint, and EXP has kind of like you, the benefits of training people, and they have, you know, so how, if I was the layman agent?
The biggest differentiator is that they're multi-level marketing, so it's a piece of a piece of a piece. With Keller Williams, it's multi-level marketing, but it's called profit sharing, so that if the brokerage is not profitable, they don't share any of that. But it's not in the equivalent of 10% off the top. It's a very small percentage, so you have to introduce an awful lot of people. Kind of like when you have any other multi-level marketing like soap powder or those kind of things. And I'm not putting it in the same category, but it takes a lot more people. I introduce one person in, I help them to get to 100,000. I know I'm going to have $10,000 that's going to come from that, right? So it's really solid, and it's based on, I get rewarded for my own personal efforts. I don't have to count on everybody else. It's my own personal efforts.
And then how
like
about
the insurance industry.
Yeah. Well, how about the EXP? What do you see the similarities or differences between the two models?
Dramatically different. Multi-level marketing, virtual, so that it's virtual, and so being able to share together in an office, I think that you know, that opportunity isn't there, and they have a broker per state. So.
Versus you guys have multiple brokers per state, kind of thing.
Correct. Correct.
So when you think of the ideal clientele, you know, are you trying to say, hey, I think every agent should be with Exit Realty, or is there a type of agent, a type of person, type of broker in terms of their age, their goals in life that are better suited for the Exit Realty model?
You know, it is actually open for everyone, but obviously we know that there's competition, and we're open to competition. There's always going to be new people coming down the pike. But if you really look at, you want to have something really solid, present tense, and you really want to build a future for yourself, you know, we analyzed what top producing agents want, and we made sure that we had all those things within the company. So it's not just the single level residuals. They wanted education. We provide education from every angle. Literally, I just got my license. Now what do? All the way the consummate professional making millions of dollars. Webinars, techinars, live interactive, total immersion, so that they can learn the way they learn. But our whole company was built on human potential. So we actually teach them how they think, how they process things. People will tell you they're better because they came here. We really teach them about relating to other people, and we want them to have work hard, rest hard, play hard. We want them to actually have some life balance. Number two, they want leadership, so we made sure we have boots on the ground. So there are regional owners in states and provinces, so that there's somebody there that can put on live events and answer questions and help them grow and sell more franchises and build, right? But also our team at corporate headquarters, we travel around and we do live events to help the agents grow, and we're here available hands-on. Number three, they want help with technology. We have a technology specialist that speaks English, Spanish, and technology. The key to technology is implementation, so she teaches them how to implement all the tools. They want it to be simplistic, that's number four. And so it's one entry, right? But she teaches everything from a headshot and bio and having an active database to everything that you should do with it, and all of Exit's tools. Number five, they want a marketing program they can track, and we have not only smart sign technology, so that if you pull up in front of a listing and you punch in 85377, you text 85377, and in the message you hit exit, that's all you punch in, hit send, you'll get the listing sent to your phone. But that gives our agents control of their business too, because they're going to get that your cell phone just requested this information, so you can call and reach out to a consumer and say, hey, I'm here when you need me, because usually they don't want to talk to anybody right away, right? They want to drive around and look at things. We even have mobile business cards. So my mobile business card, if you punch in the same number, 85377, and just hit TAMI, hit send, you'll get my business card sent to your phone, so that you can actually put my contacts in, so that we never miss out on an opportunity. It doesn't matter where you are, and it helps them to have control of their business. We have an app that we just launched, and it's interactive with the consumer. It's interactive with Exit International and the agents, so that they can learn from it, they can manage their pipeline from it, they can share information with the consumer on it. And so everything is meant to be user-friendly, so that the agent can be in front of people, because it's still a relationship business, right? Now
give me some insight into the scale of this. So how many agents, how many countries are you in?
We're in Canada and the United States. We started in Mississauga.
Okay.
And so we're in Canada and the United States. We're all across both countries. And we have 650 offices, and we're hovering right around the 25,000 mark for agents.
Now, everything sounds like really good. I mean, how come you're not at 100,000 agents or 200,000 agents? Because everything you're saying sounds amazing.
Because people need to spread the word, right? You need to have more conversations and get in front of people. So as we grow, you'll see in areas that we're more densely populated that we have more offices and more agents, so the more begets more, right? Success attracts more success. So like, for instance, we started in Canada, in Atlantic Canada. We have dominant market share in almost every single market and the highest per person productivity in all of those markets. But that's where we started first. So you have to develop, and as you develop, we expect that to happen and to spread across the country. We're stronger in the East Coast than we are in the West because we started on the East Coast, right? It started in Mississauga. We went down the East Coast first and then working our way across the country. So it's all about making sure you have the conversations and you spread the word. In the middle of it, we had the worst recession since the Depression, right? So a few areas needed to be rebuilt, but we're seeing some serious growth right now.
What part of your model is that the agent sponsors an agent and then is training that agent to now be great and be more successful? How do you know that the training that that agent is giving is good?
Well, I think that the agent would be attracted to somebody that's going to provide them with good training, but they're not required to do the training. We have international trainers. We provide training from literally every angle as a corporate entity as well. So that agent gets to be a mentor, but they don't have to be. And that person doesn't have to follow what they say. There's training going on in the offices, there's training going on in the regions, and there's training provided by Exit International all the time.
Is there anything over the last 20 years, I mean, the goal is for you to build a bigger brand, bigger organization, more agents, make them more productive. In hindsight, for anyone else who wants to learn how to build a brokerage or be good in the business, that you wish you would have done differently in hindsight because you would have got to where you are now faster, or you would have been achieving bigger numbers now?
If we had the foresight to see the recession,
yeah,
that probably would have been one. But honestly,
if say you could have predicted it, say you knew it was coming, what would you have done?
We probably would have sold in different areas because we were really built in a few areas that got hit the hardest. And so that had an impact. But honestly, it's all about spreading the word. And we didn't want to be the biggest first, we wanted to be the best first. And so our goal is to really help ramp up. We wanted them to build true family wealth. If you looked at a tagline for us, it's a group of professionals dedicated to providing quality of life for its agents in the communities they serve. So we wanted to make it consumer-centric so that it was valuable to the consumer. And we also wanted to make it valuable for the agents and make them really good corporate citizens so it's well-rounded. You know, one of the things, as I went through the list, you know, number 5 is a marketing program they can track, which obviously the Smart Sign technology has made that really good. And we also have an awful lot of lead generation opportunities. But number 6 is image, and we actually provide for our agents. Money from every single transaction goes to charity. So we contributed over $4 million to Habitat for Humanity, and it gave us opportunities to work together. But then we started asking ourselves effective questions. So we're constantly evolving. And one of them was that I give blood all the time, and I get a notice that says, congratulations, I'm a universal donor. Your blood was used today, or you saved a life today, or it was used at this hospital. And so I said, what if we did that to all of our consumers? And how could we spread this better that everyone felt part of it? So now we have the spirit of Exit, and so money from every transaction goes into a charitable account, but now a bona fide charity in every territory. So I'm an agent in an office or a broker in an office, I can do a fundraiser, and providing the funds are there, we'll match the funds. So now we've been able to touch multiple communities, and then when we do a transaction, an email goes to the buyer and the seller and the agent saying, thank you for doing a business with Exit Realty. We want to thank you also because you contributed to this community. Yep. And so they know that they're doing good by doing business with us. It makes our agents feel great, but we're able to touch and penetrate more things. So as we grow as a company, that's probably the number one thing I would say from the question you asked before, is as you evolve and you start to see, whoa, what if we could improve on this? But we actually, our biggest award is a Tri-Realathon award, and it is actually a carving, a bronze carving of a man creating himself, right? Or a woman, depending on who it is. Yeah. And so it's halfway finished. And that's how we feel about our whole entire organization and people. We're all a work in progress all the time. So we constantly say, how can we make this better? How can we improve it? How can we make the agents feel better? How can we make this a more amazing experience? What can we do differently that will really impact?
Let me throw you an idea that I haven't seen. Apparently it's been done. I heard an old broker an older broker who's been in the industry for a long time, say he's seen it before, but it didn't quite work out. And as a finance person, maybe you would actually know why you haven't done this or could do this. Because it's all, like, I'm all for, if these are the people, these are the agents, it's the company's job to help them be financially free and independent so they can live happy and do what they want to do. Real estate, investing in real estate and income producing real estate is the #1 most proven way for anyone to build wealth. Why hasn't Brokerages said, we are committed that a percentage of your commission will go into a real estate fund?
How about we do it a little different than that? Okay. We actually have brokers that do trainings, whether they have somebody come in from the outside or they do it themselves, and they teach them how to invest their income. They teach them how to invest their residuals in. So we have several offices that are already doing it, and we take it a step further, and we provide webinars and techinars. So we have webinars with our brokers live training all of our agents, and it's recorded so that anybody that comes in at any time can listen to that and learn how to invest better and what they can do so that they can invest in real estate. So we have several agents that have not only gotten residual income, but they have invested in real estate, and their own brokers have taught them, and we're spreading it across. Even at our international convention, there'll be somebody that's training it.
So the training is awesome. Now, an individual may only have so much money as an individual to invest.
Right.
And they might not be able to get it into certain deals because some of the best deals are some of the expensive deals.
Right.
But if you have this massive organization of 25,000 agents, you know, I think a brokerage could say everyone is committed to putting or you can dictate themselves, almost like an employee says, I want 10% of my paycheck to go into this other bank account so I don't see it, and I know that it'll help me grow my personal wealth.
Each office is independently owned and operated, so we can't dictate what they do. Okay. But we do have some that are actually even owned by CPAs that do have a pool that they have everybody put in. So it's, but we give them choices so that it's not something that's mandated. But we educate them all the time, and we even have brokers that educate them so that it doesn't have to be their own funds.
Was there a key decision as to make them independently owned and operated versus corporate?
That's for both protection. That's both for our protection and theirs. We wanted them to get to have, you know, people say it too often, my market's different, but there are some things that are different about markets. So we kind of wanted to be the Uncola, that they have still, they're within a franchise, they have a brand, they have all the tools, but it can be their vision.
Mm-hmm. What are the challenges that you face right now? You're the CEO, you're trying to grow this brokerage. When you think, this is what keeps me up at night, these are the challenges I face, and maybe someone listening can help you out with, what comes to mind?
I'd love to make myself into a hologram.
Okay.
I travel a lot. I love my job, and I love everything that I get the opportunity to do. I think probably so often it's how can you do it more efficiently and more effectively. And I believe that every month, every week, every year, I get more effective. But it's, you know, it's always a learning curve because there are more things. So sometimes you're leveraging technology, and that helps you to touch more people in less time. But we don't want to let go of the personal touch because people really want to matter.
All right, I want to macro out to this brokerage business model,
okay,
because there's a lot of them coming out in the marketplace.
Right.
And are you in the stance, and I hope you're willing to actually say what you really feel, are you in the stance that, hey, there's all these brokerage business models, competition is good, and they'll probably all carve out their niche because there's a lot of real estate to be done, or are you seeing that some of their brokerage models, they look shiny and they look great, but they are likely not going to last? Because you've seen the industry for many years, and you've seen recessions, and you just know that that model probably won't stand up due to these reasons. So what do you think is the future for the brokerage business model in the landscape?
Number one, I think that there'll be a variety of models. I absolutely believe there'll be a variety of models that'll be out there, and each one will get a certain percentage of the market. But there are some that are launching that I think will have difficulty. There's a couple of great books. One is called Humans Are Underrated, and the other one is The Power of Human. And people really want to matter, and real estate is a relationship business. And so it will not be able to get so high tech that everyone is going to order real estate online, right? 90% of real estate and 90% of consumers want to deal with a trusted advisor. That hasn't changed, by the way, in decade after decade after decade after decade. 90% of the business is done with real estate professionals. 10% has always been done without them. Whether it's a pocket, I live outside of Boston, Cape Cod, sometimes neighbors buy the home next door because they all want waterfront and there's only so much waterfront, right? Or resort areas, and sometimes investors or developers, they'll buy online because they have enough experience and expertise, right? And so they can buy something sight unseen because they buy in volume. And so if one thing fails, they're buying 100. If one thing fails, they have the leverage to be able to take those risks. But the average human being, this is the biggest investment they're ever going to make, they want a trusted advisor. They want somebody to give them advice. They want somebody to tell them. So I'm seeing some models come in that are hiring a lot of people with no experience, and they're not providing enough education. They're just going in with, I'll do this for less, or we'll do it in a flash with technology. And honestly, I truly believe that you're going to have to be part of the solution. This is the first time I've wanted to see us raise the bar in the real estate industry for decades, but this is the first time that I believe, because the consumer's standing up and saying, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. You know, we hear the word disruptor all the time. Those third parties came in because the consumer wasn't getting what they wanted from realtors. They weren't getting the information they wanted. They weren't getting things in real time. It was cumbersome, right? But they still want a real estate professional. I think that the process is going to be more streamlined, and that you're going to have to be more professional, and you're going to have to stay ahead of the curve. You're going to have to understand mortgages, you're going to have to understand insurance, you're going to have to understand valuation really well. You're going to have to really have a good picture of the 30,000-foot view of what the trends are that are coming, the 2,000-foot view, your own province or state, depending on where you are. You're going to have the 2,000-foot view of what's going on within your board, the area that you personally represent. And honestly, you're going to have a perspective on yourself in order to excel. So you're going to have to really know what you're good at. And I'll give you a great example. I have a really good girlfriend that a couple years ago, she said, I'm going to fix and flip a property. And she's very financially set. She's been in the mortgage industry for a long time. She watched a little too much HGTV, right? And so she wanted to fix and flip a property. She doesn't paint her own fingernails. She doesn't grocery shop on her own. Somebody puts the groceries in her house while she's gone because she's a busy professional. Somebody mows her lawn and somebody cleans her house. She's not fixing up a house, right? Yeah. So if I was somebody that didn't have experience and I came in and let her buy a property to fix and flip, she'd be in a fetal position 2 months from now trying to figure out how she was going to do it. I don't think she even has a hammer in her house, right? So I sat down and asked her a bunch of effective questions. What do you want? What is your real estate dream? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Why are you doing this? What do you want to see from this? And she wanted to have security from all levels, enough money in investments, enough money that's saved, enough equity, and she really wanted to be in a good position. So she happens to live in a town that is the best school system in that state, is in that town for public schools, and even really good private schools. She's a single mom. And so I said, you know, you have a couple of really great condo projects there. There are going to be people that get a divorce. They're going to move into a condo project and rent because they're splitting their income in half. Why don't you think in that direction? Well, she now owns 40 properties that are condos. She's $400 a month up on each property, and she doesn't have to touch them, and they're going to stay until their kids get out of school. That makes good sense for her. There might be somebody else that does want to fix and flip, but it's asking those questions. And when you ask the right questions of somebody, I don't care if it's somebody getting older and deciding on where they're going to transition, or you find out what their dream is, not only can you grow as a professional because you can do multiples. You know, I had a young man a couple years ago come up to me, one of our agents, and he said, I'm going to an appointment tonight. It's the most expensive house that I have the opportunity to list. I said, here's a list of questions I would ask. You know, what are your dreams? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? If you could wave a magic wand, perfect picture, paint it for me. When do you plan on retiring? Where do you plan on retiring? Because he mentioned on the phone he was thinking of retiring, and he wanted to sell his property when he could get the most money for it. I can tell you that most people would have gone in, and he was up against 3 other people that just wanted to list, gave him the price and told him he should list. He actually had the courage to say, you know what, it's going to be worth more next year. As where we're seeing things going, it's honestly going to be worth more next year. You don't need to sell it. You're better off to hold. Asked him all those questions, referred him an agent to buy a second home that will be his retirement home in the South, taught him short-term rentals. And in 2 years' time, he not only paid off that property, paid off his primary residence, he also sold it $85,000 more than it would have been sold if he had sold it then, and helped him buy 5 investment properties. So that man's net worth is probably $3 million more than it was, and that agent did the right thing. So for me, it's being all part of the solution, and we really need to stand our ground and make sure. So, you know, flashy, shiny objects aren't going to work. Is more technology going to come in? Yes. We're going to have to streamline the process? Absolutely. You know, in Canada, where you're from, you have the best mortgage system, the best banking system. In the United States, we don't. And so, you know, it's kind of crazy when somebody that has considerable income has to go through so many hurdles, and a brand new first-time home buyer that's never owned a house can put 3.5% down and have a lower credit score and get approved and have a shorter process. So there are things that definitely need to be fixed in order to streamline the process.
Are you guys getting into those? Are you in those verticals? Like, does Exit Realty have a mortgage division?
No, we do not. We decided that our primary
appraisal?
focus would be real estate, that we would focus on making really good real estate professionals and focus on this. We do have partnerships with people that do it really well, and our own brokerages have that opportunity to do it themselves.
All right. I have some lightning round questions that
Sure.
are a little fun to finish this off, so just say what comes to your mind. What is your favorite city in Canada?
Toronto.
What is your favorite city in the United States?
Boston.
Are you from there?
Yes.
What's the #1 reason why agents fail?
They're not consistent.
Consistent with what?
All the activities, they're not consistent. There's 3 ways you can fail, by the way. Not enough knowledge, negative habit patterns, right, so that you're not consistent or you just run out doing your homework, and distraction. And most of them get distracted. You know, they get on their cell phone instead of using it as a tool. They wake up with it as an alarm clock, then they go to text, then they go to email, and then they go to Facebook, and then all of a sudden they're on Amazon, and they've wasted a lot of time instead of saying, I'm going to set up that I'm going to do, these are the top 3 things I need to do before I touch any of that.
Yeah.
And so that consistency is really important.
What do you find agents waste their money on?
Gadgets and gizmos galore. They see something shiny, it's a revolving camera that's only $100. They see, so they light money on fire instead of doing the homework and saying, really, what do I need that's going to help me get to the next level?
What are your favorite 1, 2, or 3 things agents should be investing their money in?
They should be investing their money in a marketing program they can track. They should be investing in education so that they're always ahead of the curve. And they should be investing in making sure that they have a really active database, and whether that's getting an assistant to make sure that it stays going all the time. The biggest weakness is follow-up, right? They don't follow up and follow through. If 76 to 90%, depending on where you are in North America, a client would use that person again, and yet most of them don't stay in touch with them, that's a hole, right?
You do talk a little fast, but there's so much good stuff that comes out of your mouth. I'm
It's a
so
Boston
happy
thing.
that you are here. You guys may need to watch this a couple times because she said a lot of really good stuff in this interview. So do it again if you need to. And if you want to get to know more leaders in real estate, subscribe to the YouTube show and the podcast so you can figure out who you want to work with, what brokerage you want to be with, and how you can be great in real estate. See you next time.